Hello and welcome to the Gooner Vibe. Want to do a quick um, pre-match um discussion about PSG. Arsenal play PSG on Tuesday, and it's going to be a really interesting game. I feel both teams, in fact, all four teams are very, very close um, as far as who's going to win. I know the Opta predictor has said Arsenal is probably the favorites, but I don't really believe in those things. Predictions are it's probably governed by the fact that Arsenal beat Madrid, and Madrid are the former champions. Um, but Arsenal or PSG have not won the Champions League, so one of them would be in the final uh, to try and win the league. Barcelona and Inter on the other side of the semi-final bracket have won the Champions League, and that's going to be interesting as well. Or interesting enough, Arsenal, Inter, and Barca were in the top eight. Barca was second, Arsenal third, and Inter fourth. PSG had to go through a tougher route. They were placed 15, so they had to do a playoff and then round of 16 tie, and then a quarterfinal tie. So obviously they've played a couple of more games than the other teams. So the stats that we have for them is going to be a little different. Um, we saw Arsenal play PSG. It was pretty early in the Champions League phase, league phase, and I think it was the second or third game. Arsenal were struggling a little bit, considering we played Atlanta and managed to have a draw, and then we needed to get a win to get our points tally back up. I think we ended up in the spot after the game was over. But if I remember the reaction to that game, it was although Arsenal managed to win 2-0 at the Emirates, it was not easy. Um, for PSG, they didn't have Dembele. Arsenal didn't have Odegaard. We also had Gabriel, and I think Calafiori played on the um, right right back position instead of left back, and I forget. I think it was probably Timber who played on the left back. Um, Either ways, we had quite a few changes. Odegaard was not there, so we had to play um, Havertz and Trossard up top with Rice, Partey, and Marino, I think, in the middle to make up for that gap. Saka had started as well, so this time it's going to be different for PSG. Like I said, Dembele didn't play, so he's probably going to come back in the side. They signed Kavashkelia, which was feel really really impressive. And he'll probably start on the left hand side of their front three. Um, just a quick recollection, Trossard crossed and Havertz scored the first goal. Really important goal for Arsenal at that point. We were, I think, good with position, but didn't create much. After that, we were very sloppy. If I remember, there was a lot of misplaced passes. PSG had a couple of chances. I think one from Mendes, which hit the post, the bottom of the post, and Hakimi had a chance which Raya had to save from close range. Soon after, Saka had a free kick, and I think that was a huge mistake by Donnarumma, and it went through a host of bodies to make it 2-0 for the Arsenal. Second half, again, PSG dominated position. I think overall, they also created a couple of good chances, a couple of headers. I think one hit the bar, and the other one was saved by Raya, or probably blocked. Martinelli had a couple of good chances, which was saved by Donnarumma as well. So fairly equal, although it looked like Arsenal dominated the game because of the victory. But despite the fact that they didn't have Dembele, I thought they played pretty well. They had a position base side, a lot of flair. So I'm expecting kind of similar tactics at the Emirates, and has probably even more position and chances at the Parc des Princes. Um, Overall, they we have played each other a few times. Obviously, the last game was this season. Prior to this, I think was quite a while back when Arsenal drew with them 1-1 at Parc des Princes and 2-2 at the Emirates. Um, Overall stats for the two sides: PSG has played 14 matches to Arsenal's 12. They have won 8. Arsenal have won 9 matches. PSG have drawn one match, while Arsenal have drawn two matches. Like I said, their league phase form was not really good, so they lost 5 games, which put a lot of pressure on them to get in the top 24 spots to qualify through the playoffs. So they had 5 losses to Arsenal's one. The one that we lost was against Inter. Interesting enough, both teams have scored 30 goals, so obviously there is no dearth in attacking prowess in both teams. PSG have conceded 14 goals while Arsenal have conceded 7. So I think Arsenal defense pretty solid through the Champions League format. They have been pretty good as far as their position, how they what they do with the position is concerned. PSG have been a little suspect um, in corners or free kicks this season. Position stats, like I said, PSG prefers having the ball, so they have more of a position, 61% overall, while Arsenal has 52 percent position. Passing out accuracy, they have really good midfield, a dynamic midfield trio with Diaz and forget the other two guys' name, that Vitinha and I think it was the other Portuguese guy. It was really good. 90% position passing accuracy for them, while Arsenal have 86%. It's going to be interesting who we play in midfield with Partey being out. We will have to be creative, and maybe if Zinchenko becomes that uh, base of midfield or Rice becomes a base of midfield, we need to figure that out. Ball recoveries, PSG has 629 as opposed to Arsenal's 391, which is interesting considering um, Arsenal have not have been looked good defensively, but PSG seems to have been better at ball recoveries. PSG have a lot more tackles won, 88 one, whereas Arsenal have only won 51. So, looking at the overall uh, tackles to tackles won percentage, Arsenal had 130 tackles to 51 one, which makes it 39%, while PSG has 194 tackles of 88 one, making it 45% tackles one percentage for PSG, which is I think impressive. It doesn't really show uh, how they have conceded all those goals, but also shows that they have been good defensively, although it doesn't reflect in their stats. Um, Donnarumma have had 5 clean sheets to Raya's 6, and Raya had to make 27 saves, whereas Donnarumma had to make 35 saves. And interesting, both goalkeepers have had 28 claims. These are claims that could be just claims on the box, lower crosses, or crosses from long balls, or crosses from free kicks or dead ball situations. So it's impressive how PSG's Donnarumma is pretty huge. If you see him, it's like 7 foot tall. At least looks like. So he's huge body. So it kind of makes sense that he is good at claiming crosses. But we have seen Raya in domestic games for Arsenal how good he is in the box. Um, Arsenal are definitely uh, good at distance covered, but PSG is even better. We saw Arsenal compare with Real Madrid players being better at distance covered in both games in the quarterfinal stages, but If you see the stats, Arsenal overall have a 1174 kilometers run, whereas PSG has 1451, so almost 300 kilometers more. Understood, PSG have played two games more, but overall they've still outrun Arsenal across the competition. So it'll be interesting to see how this phases out. Arsenal have considered more yellow cards, 22 to PSG's 13, although PSG has had one red card. PSG has had 84 block shots, where Arsenal have 37. So it still again shows how, although it doesn't show up in the stats as because they have conceded a lot more goals, but they are defensively residual. It shows how collective they are and more of a team they are this season, especially after the league format. They have been looking pretty impressive. They have already won the league title in France, so they don't really have to worry about what happens there. They can concentrate everything on this fixture versus Arsenal. Overall, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting game. It's not going to be simple, as everyone thinks. It's going to be like walk in the park for Arsenal to beat this PSG side. They have to be on top of our defensive game. It's not going to be easy. Chances are going to be few and far between. We'll have to play as a team. There is a lot of good individual players and really good individual players in PSG that we have to be wary about. Desiree Duoe, Barcola, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele. We are really good attacking players. Even the midfield, Vitinha and Diaz, and the defense, Hakimi and Mendes have been looking really good. They have especially asked Hakimi and Mendes to push up, which creates a lot of overloads in up top, and their defenses uh, can become a little circumspect when that happens. Probably if we can hit them on the counter, we could score goals. We saw some of that happen in the Aston Villa game. In comparison to Aston Villa's forwards, I think our forwards are decent, but we don't really have that depth that Aston Villa have. We only have Marino, Saka, and Trossard and Martinelli available. We don't really have bench strength. Won't count Sterling to get a lot of minutes. I don't think Waneri's uh, form is good enough for him to start any of the games. He might come off the bench, but if that is basically if there is any desperate situations. Um, but let me know what your thoughts are. I don't think it's going to be an easy game like most supporters or fans seems to think. This is going to be a totally different game from the one that we saw at the Emirates earlier in the season. It's going to be more closer. I hope that Arsenal get a win. I'm predicting a 1-0 win at the Emirates and maybe a draw at PSG. I think it's going to be more high scoring than what I have said in my predictions, just because both teams have scored a lot of goals. However, both teams are desperate to get into the semifinals. If one of the teams do manage to win the first leg, the other team has to give it a go in the second leg, and that might open up a little bit for the other team in the second leg. I think PSG might go in with because they know that they are going to play at PSG in the second leg. They might be more open, more attacking the first leg. Try to calm the Arsenal home support as much as possible to get that victory. Arsenal will really need to be up on their toes, play the 100% to fend off this attacking prowess that PSG has. It's going to be different from Real Madrid. I think this PSG side is, in my opinion, much better than the the Madrid side. So it's not going to be as a 3-0 victory that Arsenal had in the first leg. That's why I'm saying it's probably going to be a 1-0. Again, let me know what your thoughts are. I think this is going to be a tough game. Thanks, and come on, you Gunners.